Okay, let us start, Barsha. We are talking about the higher education through the 5-year plans. As you know that, am I audible, Barsha?
ଆଜ୍ଞା
Hello.
ସାର୍ ଆଜ୍ଞା
O-
ସାର୍
Okay. Okay. So, as you know, that the government of India took an initiative to uh, launch a 5-year plan as a broad area for development. Because a 1-year plan is not sufficient for 5-year plans, they made it different items, different areas. There will be allocations, fund flow, and there will be suitable planning, step by step development. So, uh, after reading this Unity 8, will come to know the major problems confronting the system of higher education, suggest measures for to effectively deal with the sum of these problems, explain the magnitude of the complexity of financial inputs in higher education, discuss major problems of financing higher education, and uh, to think the measures for raising additional resources for higher education. So now, the development of higher education is accorded a high priority throughout the world since society is increasingly becoming knowledge based. Progress of higher education is essential to create and advance the knowledge and to educate and train responsible, enlightened citizens and qualified specialists to ensure overall progress of the society. A renewal of higher education is critical to face the challenges of the 21st century, mainly those arising from the global competitiveness and the knowledge intensive socio-economic activities. This is imperative because Indian education system suffers from limitations such as lack of access and equity, lack of quality and relevance of programs, and resource crunch. So these are the some of the areas which need the focus. So the constraints which has been identified must be treated with the utmost priority. What are these incongruities and why do they impine upon the system? Some of these have already been addressed in the previous, to say, the plans and programs. So what is now, what are the problems encountered by higher education? Unabated expansion. So you know that unabated expansion is one of the major causes of this quality fall. So the expansion facilities of higher education, training and research should be commensurate with the requirements for ensuring high quality and relevant programs for meeting the manpower needs of different sectors of society and economy. The developments in this regard are however lopsided. The student enrollment at the higher education stage increasingly high, and since the beginning of the plan period, our 5-year plan started from 1951, and the student enrollment stands about 88 lakhs in 2002. It is observed that there is a net addition to 4 lakh students every year. So the University Grants Commission also felt and expressed concern that the explosion of numbers, why this number is so high according to them. In the context of a growth of higher education in India, three important facts need to be emphasized. First, enrollment at the level of higher education as a proportion of the relevant age cohort is hardly adequate. And second is that is there is a need to regulate expansion
That is a need to regulate expansion, because the expansion, if there will be number of colleges, more number of colleges, there will be fall in quality. In spite of the fact that there is a need to regulate expansion, it is not easy to deny expansion altogether. So in one side, we must restrict the expansion. Another side, we must promote expansion. That means we must focus in qualitative expansion. Third is that it would not be proper to determine the demand for education from the point of view of a labor market alone, without due consideration to crucial and a cultural humanistic aspect of education. So the dichotomy, which was to say particularly visible, emerging from the creation of extensive facilities of higher education, has been recognized in the plans. Thus, how the plans also give emphasis, that is the sub-optimal utilization. And as you know that there are different types of institutions, general institutions, medical institutions, technical institutions. The funding pattern is also different. It is said that sixth five-year plan, that is from 80 to 85, has referred to the problem of non-viable institutions. Non-viable institutions, that means institutions which has no, say, the value addition to either employment or value addition to say either in terms of employment or economic growth. These are the non-viable institutions which is not catering to the needs. That is also non-viable. Which is not as per the interest or local needs. That is also non-viable institutions. So with low enrollment and inadequate provision of facilities, as well as proliferation of such institutions offering general academic courses, which would need to be tackled with the determination, both in order to avoid increasing unemployment among the graduates, as well as to make better use of valuable economic resources. So that is there, because we need to uh, very effectively manage whatever investment is done must be returned, and in terms of human resource development. Again, at the time of to say planning commission reports that the problems of a first generation learners. Who are first generation learners? Those learners are coming to college for first time in their family, particularly the socially disadvantaged sections, for whom higher education provides or gives a transition opportunity. They are coming out of a socio-economic background which is under disadvantaged group in terms of prospecting and economic consideration, particularly the economic aspirations of the community, which is not fulfilled, and they are lagging behind. These are the disadvantages, social disadvantaged sections. So they need a personalized guidance and a, um, well, not able to attend the classes. So that is uneven growth. When we talk about uneven growth, we talk that it is the state-wise expansion of higher education is also uneven. If you look at the context of Indian context, there is a uneven in state-wise expansion of higher education. Again, in the test, in the state also, there is a uneven distribution. The reason is thereof can be attributed to two reasons. One, that it is the locals after the granting aid policy, introduction of a granting aid policy, the locals they were they were establishing their own colleges, and particularly in urban area. What about rural area? In rural area, there was the lack of a fund flow, and good teachers were not available in to say particularly in rural area. That's why the reason is uh, very clear that in urban area, in urban area there is a need of so, so there is there is interstate uh, there are interstate difference. For example, Chhattisgarh. In compared to Chhattisgarh, there are only 213 institutions, whereas in Gujarat there are 422. Likewise, in Karnataka 1916. If you look at the uneven distribution, total centers of universities or the colleges, the state-wise there was uneven growth, as well as in the state, inside the state there was uneven. If you look at the enrollment ratio, if you look at the enrollment ratio, that the share of students in higher education to the total age specific population, there is a wide disparity in the states in terms of availability of facilities for higher education. As you know, someone when undergoing higher education with an expectation to get a job, so job in particularly, if we talk into job in the context of rural area in the state. If you say the colleges of Delhi, if you compare the colleges of Calcutta, so metropolises, higher education in these states, they have more opportunity of the job. Exactly, the enrollment data for deprived groups like socially backward women and rural communities, there is a disparity. Disparity in enrollment. We say that higher education, there is disparity in higher education. So, such variations, even it is prolonged. As you know, there are central universities, the affiliating universities. As you know, central universities, most of the central universities are single universities. There is no affiliated colleges. But some central universities, like Delhi University, for example, they have also affiliated colleges. That means under this central university, there is also affiliated colleges. And particularly if we look at that, the problem of higher education is the unplanned establishment of colleges. Unplanned. There is unplanned establishment of the colleges. The problem of higher education has been accentuated by unplanned growth of collegiate institutions catering to arts, science, and commerce courses. So all colleges are packed with its students, and now there is also the concept of a multidisciplinary education coming up. In that way, the quality of higher education falling. So, in one way, we can say that how to expand, how to enroll good students, and offer quality higher education. These are the three dimensions. So, according to a review committee on UGC programs in 1981, which referred to the quality of higher education, the committee stated that the picture that emerges from the assessment made by the committee is one of the lights and shades of achievements as well as failures. The general impression is that the best students, general impression is that best students are as good as ever, if not better, and the contents of courses are generally of high level. Because if the courses are better and the contents courses are generally of a high level, it is also fact that outstanding work is being done by some of the university departments, and a number of teachers have been receiving recognition from well-known centers of learning. It is a fact that some of the centers, they are doing better. Further, even the case introducing the community bias race, even in case of professional education, for instance, the quality of education imparted leaves much to be desired. There is the introduction of community bias in the training undergraduate medical students with emphasis on preventive and promotive services. Another thing is reorientation of the role of medical colleges. These are the uh, to say state of affairs on which uh, it is said that due to the expansion of higher education, unabated expansion, there is fall inequality. Another thing is that examination result. The results of various universities, the examination are a very crude way of measuring the relative position. What is the demerits of examination? There is an apprehension that the overall it is apparent wastage in higher education. The quality of those who graduate from various university institutions as revealed in the examination results are not doing or performing in a high standard. The data and examination results for different programs are established in the annual reports. Of the total number of students who appeared in the final year examination for various degree level courses, undergraduate courses means BA, BSc, BCom. There is variations. And if you look at the master's students, number of master's students, that is 13.9% of this total appear students of those who passed. In the first division. That means the quality teaching is reflected through the education imparted. Another concept is unemployment is increasing, escalating unemployment, increasing unemployment. How unemployment is increasing very fast? Because who is asking for unemployment? Those who are qualified, having university degree. They talk about the guarantee in employment. So someone who is talking about employment, someone who is talking about employment because of his or her university degree. Mismatch between education and job. It is conspicuous that there is a market, there is demand of a market, but the education what we impart that is not suiting to them, and expenditure for higher education is increasing. The state-wise allocation for higher education, as I have discussed, education is in the concurrent list. The planning of education is made both by center as well as state, but implementation part mostly at the state level is on the basis of, you see, the total institutions as well as the number of students enrolled, job market, etc. And the provisions made for expenditure to promote as educational institution, there is a need of finance stability. National Policy on Education 86 has referred to the seriousness of the deleterious consequences of non-investment in adequate investment in education. Non-investment or inadequate investment in education. There are two things. In higher education particularly, there is a tendency of non-investment or inadequate investment. The studies on university finances reveal that a large number of the universities consistently suffer from deficit budgets. University have their research laboratory and different departments, deliberation, discussion, seminar, workshop, seminar, symposium, all are the essential activities and progress processes of universities. So now, what is the context of our expenditure? That you know, there is the staff salary, there is also rising expenditure on staff salary. Huge salary burden is being taken by universities. So if funds are allocated, the major part, major chunk of this fund is given to salary. Decline developmental expenditure. Developmental expenditure was not there. So what is about the resource management? How the resources are being managed? So there is funds, distribution of funds. In salary head, we spend more. In laboratory head, research head, library head, there are different contingency heads. So looking at this resource crunch, NEP in 1986 made suggestions that resources to the extent possible will be raised by mobilizing donations, asking beneficiary communities to maintain school buildings and supply some consumables, raising fees at the higher levels of education, and effecting some savings by efficient use of facilities. Institutions involved in research and development, technical and scientific manpower should also mobilize some funds by levying a cess or a change on users agencies, including government departments, entrepreneurs. All these measures will be taken not only to reduce burden of state resources, but also for creating greater sense of responsibility within the educational system. 86 policy made it clear. कहले फंड रेज करिया को पड़िबो. फंड रेज केमिति करा जीवो? They suggested various procedures. Donation. Donation करिया. ଆଉ କଣ? ନା increasing the funds. Now in some universities there is self-financing funds. Funds is being provided by the individual students. So there are different committees reports of UGC. Now the context is various committees suggested for levying fees. A committee named Muhammadur Rahman Committee, level of a fee charged by different universities for various courses being extremely low, the fee needed upward revision. Clearly mentioned. How को committee कहले? Now Ananda Krishna committee said college fees which relates to essential academic functions and services such as tuition fee, library fee, laboratory fees, the rates of fees for each item has been recommended based on the existing pattern of fees of various parts of the country. Accordingly, several committees suggested Pune committee by the university should be encouraged to augment their resources for covering a large portion of the costs of education than that of prevails now. So it is obvious that when there is an increase in the to say expenditure, there must be the need to generate fund. So these are the certain points which needed elaborate discussion to say. Now we'll go to the next slide, next unity, that is unit 9. In Unit 9, higher education and problems of contemporary Indian society. In higher education, there are many problems. So these problems of the contemporary, what is contemporary Indian society? The present context. At present, if you look at how scheduled tribes, scheduled castes, their issues, minority issues, and issues related to CNW, children with CWSN, children with special needs. For each state or union territory, tribal communities are identified by the President of India in consultation with the governor. This identification is valid only within the relevant state or union territory. The first notification was in 1950. Since then, new notifications have been published from time to time, included in 1991 census and 2001 census also. The term scheduled caste refers to historically underprivileged, deprived, depressed, untouchable castes. These castes were first categorized as scheduled by British in independent India. Scheduled caste communities are identified for each state or union territory by President of India in consultation with the governor. This identification is valid within the relevant state or union territories. There is also minorities. There is to say minorities means it is religious minorities, language minorities, and constitution had made provisions to safeguard religious and language minorities. In this context, Article 350A of the Constitution regarding the facilities for instruction in mother tongue at the primary stage of education state that it shall be the endeavor of every local authority within the state to provide adequate facilities for instruction in the mother tongue at the primary stage of education to children belonging to the linguistic minority group. Linguistic minority is a minority. Contextually, the term scheduled caste refers to traditional disadvantaged caste groups. So there is scheduled caste, there is scheduled tribe. India has the second largest tribal population in the world. Tribals have traditionally been distinct in cultural groups that have involved in the isolation from mainstream cultures with heterogeneous social, economic, linguistic, and religious patterns. The mortality rates among the tribals are high and the literacy rates are low. Literacy rate are low due to the influence of Christian missionaries. The literacy rate in northeast and among the sections of Santalas, Mundas, Orans are above average. Yet only in a small number among them has entered professions, senior levels of bureaucracy. Recently, the tribal state of Jharkhand has been carved out of Bihar and Chhattisgarh out of Madhya Pradesh. So you know that the tribal area there is a lot of developmental programs. What is the directive of Article 46 of Directive Principles of State Policy, which is a comprehensive article comprising of both the development and regulatory aspect? It reads as follows: that states shall promote with special care the educational and economic interests of the weaker sections of the people, and in particular the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes, and shall protect them from social justice in all forms. So the Article 330 provides for reservation for seats in Lok Sabha. 32 provides reservation seats for SC/ST state Vidhan Sabha. And further, Article 334 laid down a provision relating to the reservation of seats for SC/STs in Lok Sabha.